Hello again. As I was talking about earlier, one of the trade-offs for the streamlined process, where all of the new program review process is replaced by an existing program review process. We do have the standards for new program associate degrees up to bachelor's and master's degrees, where as long as you're meeting these standards, we allow you to start the program. But now the emphasis is on what happens 5 years or 10 years after the program is started, and we look at both low producing program review, which we'll cover later, and existing program performance review. Again, how we this is kind of an ongoing process. We're just about ready to start a pilot of this process. And first of all, how we select the programs that are going to be reviewed. We'll divide basically all programs by 2-digit zip codes, and we'll be on a 10-year kind of rotation, trying to review all 2-digit zip codes, within 10 years. Within each 2-digit zip code, again, the first 2 digits, we're going to look at the program level, which is the first 4-digit, and review programs, related programs together. What we're looking at is the applied associate degrees, which includes certificate level. Academic associates, we'll talk about those. Those are kind of just all grouped together as your academic associate program. So we're not going to look specifically at biology, chemistry, or mathematics. We're just going to look at how your academic associate program is doing. And this also includes up to the bachelor's and BAT degrees. Programs that have just been started within the past 5 years are going to be exempt from this review. This gives you time to market the program, to get it started, and to get a steady flow of students. So we're going to start looking at it beginning in year 5. Of course, any program that's older than 5 years will be reviewed immediately. We're going to talk about the measures that we're going to review, and for that, I'll turn it over to Catherine.
Thanks, Dwayne. This existing program performance review is something we've been kicking around since about 2005, but we really have gotten much more engaged in it in the last couple of years. We looked at trying to do this via career clusters, but one of the difficulties is that because our staff are limited in number and we have other responsibilities, we wanted to make sure that over the 10-year period, we would not be, overburdening ourselves or you in 1 year more than another. So that's where we came up with the 10-year schedule of reviews that you can find on the website. We are not going to ask you to provide any additional information for this. This is going to be a quantitative review of performance only. So we asked the Undergraduate Education Advisory Committee several years ago for some input into this and recommendations, and they discussed for several meetings what they thought were the most important indicators of performance for degree programs, whether they're career technical or academic. And some of those general measures include enrollment, persistence, transfer, completion, and placement after the fact. And this is not rocket science. This is the same kind of list any of you, I think, would come up with. Most of these measures align with the accountability system, but we've tweaked them just a little bit. And I want to give you a couple examples of the kinds of measures we'll be looking at. For graduation rate, looking at the total in the cohort, looking at full-time versus part-time enrollment, and whether they graduated from the same program in which they originally enrolled, another program, same institution, or another institution. We want to follow these students, even if they swirl, even if they transfer, and make sure that in your institutional and program performance criteria, we're giving you credit where credit is due. For academic associate degrees, of course, we're going to look at all of these together because the principal goal of an academic associate degree is as a transfer vehicle. So the transfer information will be very important. Many of you who pay attention to the accountability system and some of the changes we've made to those measures are already aware that we've refined and redefined some of the measures we use for transfer. And instead of saying, well, we'll just count everybody 30 hours at the same college or more or whatever, we now are teasing it out into components of about 12-hour increments at the beginning, and then we look at some other markers, including up to 42 credit hours, because, well, that's the core curriculum. So we also want to look at time to degree, average number of years and average number of semesters. You know that students starting at community colleges, once they hit junior status, if we look at the next 4 years worth of graduates, they take about 7.5 years, but they only take a little more than 11 semesters, and that doesn't add up to 7.5 years. So the question is, what's happening in the interstices time-wise? We want to look at AAS completers, certificate completers, both full-time and part-time enrollment. The other thing we're really interested in is the average number of semester credit hours attempted. And again, it's interesting that this, for those who complete a bachelor's degree, tends to be, closer to what the university native students are attempting than we would have thought. So those are some of the things. You won't be able to see this, but when you look at the PowerPoint at the link, you'll be able to tell. This is an example of some of the data we look at for placement. And we look at what happens to the student from one semester to the next. Are they still enrolled? Did they earn a credential? If they earned a credential, are they employed, or did they earn a credential and they're enrolled somewhere else? There are a lot of different ways to tease this out. Employed and enrolled in a senior institution for certificate completers, employed and enrolled in a senior institution for AAS completers. So there's a lot of information here. We also can follow them into the workforce if they're working in Texas. So this is a great resource, and we're very grateful to our colleagues in planning and accountability who've worked with the Texas Workforce Commission to be able to put this information together. The little green line is cohort data, and you would see some additional information there. Data for all these programs is going to be processed annually. It'll be out there. You'll be able to see it because it will be available on our website. We've already said it's going to rotate through a 10-year period, so we hope to take a look at all of the programs out there over about 10 years in a way that's balanced, so we're looking at approximately the same number of programs year in and year out. So what's going to happen? How will this affect your programs? Well, we will be identifying programs as high performing, satisfactorily performing, or underperforming. As I said, it's a quantitative review only. We're not going to ask you for additional information. This is not an initiative that will lead to program closure. And I want to say that again. We do not expect to close programs from this particular review. We hope that you'll be able to use this information in your short, medium, and long-range strategic planning. Enrollment managers should be delighted with this kind of information, and for use in both developing and improving programs. New program development, of course, needs to be in your institutional context of what else is going on, as well as what the needs are regionally and statewide. We also hope that this will allow institutions to sort of take a look at what's happening in similar colleges around the state. And we think that this is going to be a really important thing. So we're going to include both statewide and institutional peer group from the accountability system peer groups information so that you can look at where your college and your program is related to those. We have been working with our ISS and IT people for what seems like 2 or 3 years now. Lucy knows. 1 year. 1 year. Okay. It just, it's so much fun, you know, you want to stretch it out. But we're really trying to make sure that we're using our data accurately and that we're going to be able to provide it to you in a way that is maximum helpful to you. So we've been sliding this, when will the data be available, a little bit, and only Lucy knows at this point. But we're hoping that this is the magic month when we'll make the data available, and we are actually developing training for our own staff so that they'll be able to work with these programs. And by February of 2013, this is not a dress rehearsal for the core curriculum, it's just that the dates align. We hope to send you information about your programs that you'll be able to use. So there are 3 of us who are contact people. Myself, Lucy, and Dwayne, and we welcome your questions, because since we're still developing this, we need all the help we can get, and we appreciate it. Thanks.